Hey, everybody, what's up? Welcome in to Best on the Board presented by BetMGM here at The Athletic. Michael Beller and Casey Joyner here with you today on this Friday. Just about, Casey, 30 hours or so before the start of the divisional round as you and I are sitting down and recording this episode or filming it live for those of you joining us on YouTube. Thank you so much. Casey, this is going to be, I think, an awesome weekend of football. I talked about it on yesterday's show. Last weekend, a little bit of a letdown as far as playoff football goes. Felt maybe a little bit more like a regular season week with some of the blowouts that we saw this weekend. I think it's more than going to make up for it with these matchups that we have ahead of us on Saturday and Sunday.
Those number 7 seeds, I mean, obviously they put it in there for money, but I mean, I just like that's, it's Philadelphia. Congrats for getting there, but I mean, you didn't belong. But the Patriots, okay, fine. What happened there? Okay, they were a playoff team. They deserve to be there, but I mean, it's just like that. Those 7 seeds. The NFL wants to ever expand to 8. Why? I mean, all it does is just dilute that weekend. I think they need to go back to 6 teams.
Yeah, never going to happen.
No.
we know that. Never. You don't put the toothpaste back in the playoff revenue tube. That is absolutely for sure. But I'm totally with you. We're just going to have to live with it going forward. Obviously, anyone who just cares about the competition and the competitive integrity would say that the Buccaneers and the Chiefs deserved a bye more than the Steelers and Eagles deserve to be playoff teams. And that, it's really as simple as that. It's really simple. And let's just look back at the history of 7 seeds in the NFL playoffs thus far. We have this year's Steelers, this year's Eagles, last year's Bears. And the 2-7 game in the AFC last year was fun with the Bills and the Colts, but that's going to be more the exception than the rule.
Yeah, it is. And I just don't that they're going to switch to 8 eventually, or they're going to get to that because they want it even. And then nobody's playing for home field. Yeah. No buys, no home field. I mean, you're playing for a home field, but you're just playing for, now you get a favorable matchup. Like, that's just there's so much motivation for teams to do that. And Madden basically said this over the years, that the more you make a game worth something, that there's something to play for. He wanted you to play for something no matter what, but if you play for something, keep stacking it up, the more there's play for, the better it is. And if you get rid of home field advantage where you get a buy, or you get rid of buys, that's not I don't think it's going to make week 17.
Teams aren't going to care. Teams aren't going to care about home field advantage to where I'm the 1 seed versus the 2 seed, whatever. That's not going to matter until I'm in my conference championship game. And either way, I'm pretty happy. And I know I'm playing a good team. It barely matters where the game is.
Yeah, and imagine what that'll do to fantasy football too, because that there's going to be teams starting to take a break in week 17, and then there you go. So
there you go. Well, let's get into it, Casey. Let's get into it. You and I are going to focus on the Sunday games. Yesterday, me, Zach Jackson, Andrew DeWitt focused on the Saturday games. So you and I will take a deeper look at the Sunday games. We'll throw in a little bit of Saturday also, to be sure, but we're going to focus on those 2 big Saturday games or Sunday games. And oh man, Casey, what a Sunday we have ahead of us. Bucks, Rams, Chiefs, Bills. Let's start with that NFC game. Buccaneers hosting the Rams. Right now on BetMGM, the Buccaneers are 3-point favorites. But if you're watching us on YouTube, you see on the screen, if you're going to bet -3, you're getting plus 100 on that. You're getting minus 120 if you're taking the Rams +3. So wouldn't be surprised to see this ultimately come down to 2.5 and minus 110 on both sides by the time this game actually kicks off on Sunday. 48.5 the total on this one. I don't know what to, I've been thinking about this all week. I still don't know what to make of this game, KC. It's going to be a stay away for me. The way these 2 teams are going, the way that we've seen some offensive line injuries for both of these teams, like Tristan Wirfs back at practice today, that's great news for the Buccaneers. But man, oh man, I'm not exactly sure personally what to make of this one. Where are you sitting as you look at this matchup?
I'm probably sitting more towards the Rams. I mean, I keep looking at they've won they won 5 of the last 6 games, and I mean they've beaten Arizona twice, and I know Arizona's had some struggles late in the year, but still a quality win. They beat Seattle, who's playing better. They beat Minnesota, who is a talent, who has a lot
fringy
of talent.
Playoff team,
fringy playoff, right? Baltimore and again fringy playoff team. And they beat San Francisco. I mean that's some quality wins there. And they're also on an 8-game streak of at least 1 takeaway. They've got 3 straight games of 2 takeaways. I mean, I like that. And I don't think the Tampa's ground game has been what they want it to be or what they need it to be. Arians says we need to be able to run the ball during the playoffs. Yeah, they build their offense around running plays and how to run different plays off of those plays. So I just keep looking at the Buccaneers passing game and seeing that I know that it's Brady. I know they can still do a lot of things and they can scheme you and they can do a number of things that way. but you got a pretty talented secondary on the other side. And I just think that it's going to be tough for Tampa Bay to get in the kind of shootout that they need to get into. And if they do, their defense isn't playing at the level that it used to play at before. So I think it is a high scoring game probably. And I think the Rams are probably going to win because I think they're just better suited for a shootout because they just have more talent on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of the coaching come to fruition this weekend in this game in terms of what these teams did during the week because of all the changes that we've seen for both of these teams. The Buccaneers, we know everything that they're not playing with on offense. Wirfs is going to be back. That's very good news for them. On the Rams side of things, we know the things that they have lost offensively, and Andrew Whitworth probably not going to be playing for the Rams in this game. And so that's going to be something where they have to really change maybe their protections or what the lineup looks like up front in front of Matthew Stafford. It's an interesting one. I actually, if I would like, so I lean Rams. I'm with you on that. I lean Rams on the line, but I'm not playing it. I'm just saying it right now. I'm not playing it. If I was going to play anything straight, if I was going to play any non-props in this game, I actually think I would go away from what you just said and play the under.
Really?
Yeah, I just, the way that these teams can both create havoc on the quarterbacks, we know that these are two quarterbacks who are not going to escape pressure if pressure is brought. That's just right. Matthew Stafford, Tom Brady, these guys have a lot of good things going for them. Tom Brady has the most good things going for him of any professional athlete ever, maybe. But these are not guys who escape pressure. That's just not at all the case for either of these guys. And these are two defensive lines that can bring pressure without blitzing. These are two teams that can blitz and get extra pressure. These are offensive lines that are dealing with some injuries. I could just see this game starting out very slowly. Maybe I like a first half under more than a total game under, just because, my Eagles Buccaneers under best bet, which was just cruising all game.
Yep.
And then gets blown up because the Buccaneers don't care anymore in the fourth quarter. They've got this game wrapped up and still was going to be a winner if the Eagles aren't in what the hell, let's go for two mode on that last touchdown. So I guess the full game over could scare me a little bit, but maybe first half under is actually, as I'm thinking through it, my favorite, total or side play of this game. Just I think that with the way these teams can get, and if you're either of these defenses, you can't let Matthew Stafford be comfortable in the pocket. You can't let Tom Brady be comfortable in the pocket. We've talked about this for years now. That's when we've seen teams give this Buccaneers team trouble over the last two seasons, it's been by getting pressure straight up the middle. That's why the Saints have been so good against this version of the Buccaneers. That's why think about one of their losses last year was against the Chicago Bears, a team that was very bad last season, even though they squeaked into the playoffs. The Bears just got a ton of pressure right in Tom Brady's face in that game. And so I think the Rams are able to do that as well. That's why I think under is the way to go. I just don't want to trust either team with the way that they've been going recently.
Agreed. And up the gut pressure. I mean, they go each defense. They've got the players to bring up the gut pressure. I'll say the wild card in this, and the reason why I want to pick the Rams, Cam Akers. Mm-hmm. How good he looked last week.
He looked awesome.
like he was hurt in August. Really, he was hurt. No way. There's no way he was. Yeah. He just looked. I mean, you could see why he was. Why everybody coming into the season thought what Darrell Henderson did. Add another few hundred yards to it if you get a full season.
Add like a third of Darrell Henderson's production. I mean, early fantasy drafters had to have felt such vindication.
Yes,
people who were targeting Cam Akers late first round in their fantasy drafts in July had to just be feeling I would have been a champion if it didn't happen. Because man, he looked great in that game. And he is definitely, it adds a different element to the Rams offense. It's not just like Darrell Henderson, Sony Michel deserve a ton of credit for what they've done. They have kept that run game relevant really all season. But Cam Akers is just a different player. Cam Akers is a great argument. Cam Akers versus Darrell Henderson and Sony Michel is a great argument for why running backs actually do still matter.
Yeah,
because I would agree with the running backs don't matter people in that it doesn't matter if Darrell Henderson or Sony Michel is your running back. I would agree with them there. But when you have a Cam Akers who adds such an explosive element, who is a dangerous pass catcher, who can turn what should be a 5-yard gain into a 50-yard gain or a 20-yard gain into a 75-yard touchdown, those are the guys who are difference makers. Great players still matter regardless of what position they play. Cam Akers looks like one of those guys. So I think that is maybe an element that isn't quite being baked into what this Rams offense is right now. Cam Akers, but again, is there a more negative EV play than fading Tom Brady in the playoffs? For 20 years now. For 20 years, Casey. I'm 37 years old, and it's like this guy has been for my entire post-adolescence and my adult life. Tom Brady's just been this dude who is awesome in the playoffs every single year. And so that's another reason why I don't want to bet a side. I'll take the under. I'm not betting the side in this one. That's how we're going to live with this Buccaneers-Rams game. Let's cap it off. AFC, the nightcap, Chiefs and Bills. And whoo, what a matchup this is going to be. For my money, I think for a lot of people's money, KC, no offense, Titans, no offense, Bengals, here's your AFC Championship game. Winner of this game is going to be playing, I think, in the Super Bowl. And actually, I saw some look-ahead lines this morning for both Titans, Chiefs, and Titans, Bills. Chiefs, -4.5. Bills, -3.5. Those games would obviously be played in Tennessee. So, I mean, odds makers are already writing it off as though this is the AFC Championship game. It has been living in this 1.5, 2.5 range all week long. Chiefs now 1.5-point favorites, 53.5 is a total, which is actually a point lower than what we've seen for most of the week. It opened at 54.5, and it lived at that 54.5 number for 5 days, but it's come down to 53.5 here. I do think this one lives up to the expectations, not just being a good, close, competitive game, but I think this is like 38-35. I do think that you have to get to that point in this one. I just, both teams have things they can do on defense, but this is going to be, as I think, pure script quarterback play game that we see all weekend.
So if you saw this game going, if it is 27-24, and if you think about that for these two offenses, like it's not very high scoring for these two. Like you would think that would be the lower end of where they would be. I would think if they played anywhere near their talent level, they'd say 27-20. That's already 51. So I'm totally with you on the over. That's like I can easily see 27-24. Okay, now you only have to get another field goal on top of that, and I easily to say that one of these teams won't get to 30. I find that hard to believe. I mean, Buffalo's scored 27 points in 5 straight games. I mean, they both now Buffalo's allowed 17 or fewer points in 4 of their last 5, and we know what they did against the Patriots offense. The Patriots are very limited. In Kansas City, they've had some issues, but they scored 28 or more points in 6 straight games too. So I mean, if they play where they've been, that's 55 already. So I like these teams definitely to hit the over. I would probably take, if you go into games where teams either where the team has a shootout or a near shootout. A shootout is where both teams score 24 or more points. A near shootout is where one team scores 24 or more, and the other team scores at least 20 or more. You go to those sorts of games. Andy Reid, the Buffalo's 1-1 in those types of games since week 8, and the Chiefs are 3-1 of those types of games. I just think the Chiefs are better suited to win that type of contest than Buffalo. Buffalo doesn't want it to get to a shootout. They like to score big, but they really are. They don't want to get into shootout mode. I think the Chiefs are more comfortable in shootout mode this year than they've been in past years. So I would take the Chiefs, and I would take the over on this.
I think both these teams are pretty comfortable playing that style of game. I think maybe the Bills just haven't had the right opponents to play that style of game in the second half of the season. Obviously, these teams played back in week 5. It was a 38-20 Bills victory in Kansas City, a very comfortable victory for the Bills. That was pretty much the low point of the Chiefs season. That was in that little run of games where they were still sort of figuring things out for this 2021-22 season. And they've definitely figured it out since then. So I wouldn't read too much into that matchup in terms of it being a template for what we're going to see between these two teams on Sunday. I think it's hard to get a read on. I think for every other game this weekend, we can look at a lot of matchups and say, if this thing goes right for the Titans, they're going to win. If this thing goes right for the Bengals, they're going to win. If this goes right for the Packers, it goes right for the 49ers, and so on and so on. Yeah. I think this is really the one game this week that it's hard to get there because these are two teams that have had so much continuity over the last few seasons, have been among the 3 best teams in the NFL for these last few seasons, know each other very well, have played each other a lot over these last 3 seasons, both because of their playoff matchups and because of the fact that they're winning their division and they're matching up in the regular season as well. So these two, among the teams that don't share a division with each other, Chiefs and Bills know each other as well as any 2 non-divisional opponents. So I just it's hard to say. I think it's hard to zero in on one aspect or 2 aspects of this game and say, if this goes right, Team X is going to win. This just comes down to 2 awesome teams and one being a little bit better than the other in the right moment. And I'm going to take the Bills. I like the 1.5. You rarely see a game decided by 1 point. I do like getting that 1.5 here. And I just think that when both of these teams put together their A-plus game, the Bills are a little bit better. I think what they do defensively is a little bit more bankable than what Kansas City does defensively. And so that's why I lean ever so slightly in the Bills' direction. I got to ride with this too, right, Casey? I mean, last week you and I were talking about our favorite futures, and I said, I'm going to throw a little bit of money on Packers over Bills. I'm going to throw a little bit of money on Bills over Packers as a Super Bowl matchup. And if that ends up happening, then I don't even care what happens in the Super Bowl. I'll just be counting the money a little bit more if the Bills win, but who cares? Let's go ahead and lock that in as a Super Bowl matchup. And so I'm not going to go away from it now, certainly not after what we saw the Bills do to the Patriots, absolutely dismantling them last weekend. Before we wrap things up here, Casey, really quick, 30 seconds or less, maybe give us 45 seconds, your favorite play for Saturday's games.
Favorite play for Saturday's game has to be Cincinnati over Tennessee. I think that Tennessee's going to benefit from getting Henry back, but I mean, their defense has not played as well, and I see Burrow and Chase and all those other players in that Bengals offense. I just see the Bengals being able to get a kind of pace game that Tennessee, even when Henry's playing well, wouldn't match up with them. With Henry maybe having some injury rust, won't be in that level. So I've got Cincinnati in this one.
Yeah, we're on the same page in that game. I also like the Bengals. Talked about it quite a bit on Thursday's show. So I'll leave that there, and I will talk about my favorite play on Saturday, the ultimate don't overthink it play of the season. Green Bay Packers -5.5 against the 49ers. Another rematch of a regular season matchup where the Packers let the 49ers hang around and ultimately needed a great game-ending drive from Aaron Rodgers to pull out a win in that game. Don't think they need that in this one. Everything's lined up, I think, for the Packers to win this game relatively comfortably. The better team. I think that, the 49ers obviously do have what it takes offensively to take advantage of Green Bay's biggest weakness, the run defense. But I just don't see them being able to stick with Aaron Rodgers and stick with what Green Bay's offense is going to be able to do. I don't think Green Bay runs away with this one early. I don't think we're looking at another blowout early. But I ultimately think that as the possessions stack up, Green Bay is going to be able to score one time for every 2/3 of the times that the 49ers are able to score. And ultimately, that just puts enough distance between them as the game goes on. And we're looking at something like 28-17 Packers. And so I do like the Packers to cover that spread, move on to the NFC Championship game for the third straight season. KC, it is going to be a hell of a football weekend. Very excited for things to kick off tomorrow. That's Casey Joyner here with us on Best on the Board. KC, good luck to you this weekend.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, college basketball coming up next. First, however, we are going to give you a little bit of a word from our friends over at BetMGM. Right now, bet 10, win 150 at BetMGM. Plus, get a free 3-month subscription to The Athletic. All you got to do, go to betmgm.com and use the promo code TheAthleticPod. Take advantage of this offer from the King of Sportsbooks right now. Again, it is bet 10 to win 150, plus a free 3-month subscription to The Athletic. Go to betmgm.com and use the code TheAthleticPod. A new customer offer for people over at BetMGM. Terms and conditions apply. All right, college hoops. We've got a great weekend ahead of us, and the number one Chiefs fan on the Athletics college hoops staff, CJ Moore, joins us, and looks like he's not happy with my AFC Divisional Round Bills-Chiefs pick. What's up, CJ?
You're 5 minutes late. Tune in. You're talking bad about my Chiefs. What the hell, bro?
You're doing all right. You've got a Super Bowl in your back pocket. You've got another Super Bowl appearance. If they lose this weekend to the Bills, it's, not the end of the world.
I'm a little worried, but
I bet, yeah.
I feel a little bit better now that you're on the wrong side. So,
oh yeah,
we'll be good.
Yeah, give you a little bit of confidence there.
You've been there ahead before.
It's going to be an awesome game. I'm very excited about that. It's going to be a super fun game, and I like being, neutral in it because I don't have to worry about, I don't have any emotions tied up in it. So it's going to be maybe the game of the weekend.
Emotions for the both of us. Big
yeah, there you go. Well, hey, I've got enough emotions in the first game that you and I are going to talk about as we turn our attention to the college hoop slate for this weekend. We get started on Friday night. I feel like we all should be saying thank God for the Big Ten, just like every day, just because it's just, probably the best basketball plus football conference that we have. Some conferences can do one.
Let's stick to college basketball.
Some conferences can do one, CJ. This conference can do both. And over the last few years, they've been doing the basketball thing on Friday nights, giving us some college hoops to watch on Friday. And we get a great matchup to kick off what we're talking about here on Best on the Board. Wisconsin and Michigan State playing in Madison on Friday night. The Badgers on a extremely hot run, maybe the hottest team in college basketball right now. They're 3.5-point favorites at home against the Spartans. 139.5 is the total that we have to look at here. Maybe no Tyler Wall for the Badgers, and that would be obviously a huge loss with the way that he's been going. We'll get information on that later as the game draws nearer. But we're looking at this right now. 3.5 is the spread. Badgers, Spartans, what do you look at in this matchup?
I mean, I think I just have to say screw Wisconsin and go Sparty there, right?
Wow, making it personal, just like that. Unbelievable.
I'm not sure. This is a tough one. Two of the, I think I am not betting aside necessarily, especially not knowing Tyler Wall's status. That makes me a little worried. Two of the best three defenses in the Big Ten play so far on a per possession basis. Neither team likes to play back fast, so maybe lean the under here. But yeah, I think Tyler Wall's probably Wisconsin's second favorite,
without question,
second best player. So I'd be a little. It almost feels like maybe this is like Wisconsin's been on such a run. Eventually, Badgers are going to lose a game, right? And I think Michigan State coming back from a loss against Northwestern, probably a little hungry. But the fact that it's in the Kohl Center, I'm a little weary betting Michigan State. But I think I like the under.
Yeah, that's probably where I would lean on this one as well. And, maybe it'll come down also if Tyler Wall doesn't play, dealing with an ankle injury suffered again in that win that the Badgers had over Northwestern on Tuesday. Wouldn't be surprised to see them take it easy with him too. They're off to such a great start in the Big Ten. We're still very early in the season. Ankle injuries, always a little bit dicey. So I think he would have to be, no question about it, 100% for the Badgers to roll him out there against Michigan State tonight. So I agree with you. I think you want to see, before you make a play either way, whether you like the Badgers or you like Michigan State, I think you want to wait and see what the deal is with Tyler Wall before you go ahead and fire it. If Wall ends up playing, I do lean toward the Badgers a little bit, but I'm with you on the fact that this spread's just with the way these two teams are going, it's not really something that jumps out at me in either direction. The total is something that I could get on board with, and the total is something that I would maybe bet now. We're about 8 hours away from tip-off of this game, and that's something I would maybe want to get on before the Wall news comes to light, because if he is out, wouldn't be surprised to see this drop down point and a half or so, and so you could maybe get a little bit of leverage if you play that right now. He's done so much for the Badgers this year offensively. He's really been a key player, and obviously all the attention for Wisconsin goes to Johnny Davis, rightfully so, but Tyler Wall's been right there with him in terms of creation, in terms of point creation for the Badgers. Obviously not quite right there with him, but a guy who's been really important to this Badgers offense, and something that could really end up hamstringing the Badgers and slowing the game down even further if he's unable to go. So that's what we're looking at with this game. Badgers and the Spartans should be a good one to kick off our college hoops weekend on Friday night. 3 games that I want to talk about with you over the weekend. So we don't yet have lines for these. We'll be leaning on the KenPom lines for we got a couple of games in the SEC on Saturday that should draw plenty of attention. Let's start with Auburn and Kentucky. KenPom's got this as Auburn a 3-point favorite, 151 a total score. Wouldn't necessarily think it gets to that quite high of a total when it's actually posted, but still should be the best game of the day on Saturday. What are you looking at here with these two teams going head to head?
Well, you pick against my Chiefs, and you don't even pick my Johnny Davis story. What's up, Wisconsin? Come on.
I'm killing you, CJ.
Yeah,
check out CJ. CJ's got a great, I think I talked about this last week. CJ's got a great film room breakdown of Johnny Davis. It's an awesome story. Go check it out. Subscribe to The Athletic if you don't yet subscribe, so you can see the story and read the story. A great breakdown of the guy who is right now the National Player of the Year favorite. Now go Kentucky and Auburn.
That's better. That's better. This one is tough. I'm a believer in both of these teams. I think I'm going to lean Auburn because it's at home. I think it's actually advantageous for the Tigers, the fact that they didn't get to number 1 this week. Shouts to my guy Jesse Newell who prevented that from happening. Big topic in college basketball world. But I actually think that might, mentally, sometimes I think when you get to number 1 that first week, when you're like, who's never been there.
Yep. Purdue earlier this year.
For a letdown, right?
Yeah, Purdue earlier this year.
They're still trying to, they still feel like they've got a chip on their shoulder, yada, yada, yada. And, they can just focus on still something to chase. And I think these teams are pretty close, but I'm going to lean Auburn. Kentucky is 2-2 on the road this year and just barely beat A&M the other night. So I think I lean Auburn here, and it's not enough of a line to say, oh, Kentucky cover and lose.
Right.
So I think I'd lean the Tigers.
One of my favorite questions, and I'm going to ask it to you here. If you're wrong, if you end up being wrong, if I came back from the future, 29 hours from now and said, guess what, CJ, you were wrong. Kentucky won that game. What would you have thought would have gone in Kentucky's fashion for them to go ahead and go into Auburn and win this one?
I think Ty Washington will be awesome, and Kellen Grady would hit some threes. I'd say Kellen hits like 5 threes, and Ty Washington is just the best player on the floor.
All right, that should be a really fun game to kick things off on Saturday before you tune in to Bengals and Titans. I think they're maybe even on the same network. I think that's maybe a back-to-backer. You go from Kentucky-Auburn right into Titans and Bengals. Should be a pretty fun way to start your Saturday. We've also got Tennessee and LSU. KenPom line puts this as Tennessee -2, 128 on the total. What are you looking at in sizing up these two teams? Should be a fun one also with these 4 big SEC giants getting together this weekend.
Yeah, I think you would feel better betting this game if you knew the status of Xavier Pinson, and it doesn't appear that we know that yet.
Yeah.
LSU's offense is 12 points per 100 possessions better with Pinson on the floor, according to Hoop Lens. I would lean Tennessee, but until you know his status, maybe a little hesitant. But the last time Tennessee lost a home game?
I do not. What is it?
Almost been a year. January 30th of last year. Undefeated at home this year. Tennessee has struggled to score at times this year, but both these defenses are really good. But yeah, with Pinson either being maybe coming back or not playing, I think I lean Tennessee. If you got a healthy Pinson, maybe I think differently, but I think I lean Tennessee here.
All right, CJ, one more game.
Geez.
Well, yeah, you guys have the initials, and I've just got KC on your mind. You're the Chiefs, man.
KC is a good name.
I look at you and I think KC. I think Kansas City. So there you go. CJ, one more game. Xavier and Marquette. This game is on Sunday. Marquette really been one of the surprises of the last couple of weeks here. 5 straight wins earlier this week, knocking off Villanova in Philly. A great win, one of the real signature wins that any team has put up on the board this season, capping off their 5 straight wins so far. Before that, and knock off Seton Hall. So turning around an 0-3 start in Big East play to get to 5-3 does feel like Shaka Smart has some Shaka Smart things happening for this Marquette Golden Eagles team. On the other side, a Xavier team that has been very good all season long. KenPom is pegging this as a 1-point game in Milwaukee with a 149 spread. Xavier favored by 1 on the road here. What jumps out at you about this matchup?
Shaka's also got to be puffing his chest that Texas is lousy, right? So,
yeah, right.
Shaka just walking around.
walking around the ice-cold streets of Milwaukee feeling good about himself.
Yeah. Marquette's, like you broke it down, they're one of the hottest teams in the country right now. Like on a real run here. Xavier hasn't lost a Big East game against anyone other than Villanova. So I do think these are 2 of the better Big East teams. But I think this is a coin flip. I don't know how you feel. Obviously, the line kind of tells you that. And I'm just going to stick to picking home teams. It's almost like home court advantage probably means something in college basketball, right? So I think that environment is going to be pretty wild on a Saturday with Marquette fans. That's a really, really passionate fan base.
Yep.
I think if you give them something to be excited about, man, that they're going to rock. So I like Marquette. I think this will probably be a pretty low scoring game. But yeah, I'll lean Marquette.
I mean, they'll get up and down, right? Both these teams play with a little bit of pace. Both these teams like to get quick shots up. Marquette, not a surprise with the Shaka Smart team. They shoot a ton of threes. They've been making a lot of threes of late. This is already the second time these teams have played each other this season. It was their first Big East game back in the middle of December in Cincinnati. Xavier pulling off an 80-71 win in that game. And so, I think that we can at least look to that game as something of a script for this one, in that both teams are going to want to run. They're going to be comfortable enough, I think, letting the other team run. And that letting's probably the wrong word, but neither team is going to be, I don't think, upset about a game that goes up and down and lets them fire up a bunch of threes. I think that both teams will be okay with that sort of script. With the way that Marquette's playing and the way that this could play a little bit more into their hands if it ends up going that way, I agree with you. I think I lean Marquette in this one, but definitely going to want to see what the actual spread is before I'm making a play on it. But assuming it's somewhere in this range, even if it flips the other way and we're talking about Marquette -1, which is what I would guess. Obviously, KenPom is taking everything into account, but we do see odds makers want to give a little bit more credit to home teams, give a little bit more in that direction. So I would more expect this to be when we're actually talking about the betting line, Marquette -1 rather than Xavier -1, Marquette -1.5.
Yeah.
With the way they're going and the way they can play at home, I think I'm comfortable taking that and leaning in Marquette's direction.
It's basically a pick 'em either way,
Yeah.
right? Like that line's going to be really small, whichever side they're on.
Yeah, it definitely is sort of like Bills and Chiefs being such a small line, no matter what things, no matter how things go between now
and you take the home team because one the home court advantage, home field advantage, it matters.
You take the home team. I'm going to take Josh Allen. That's where I'm going with this one. No, Pat Mahomes is pretty good. Pat Mahomes is pretty good at what he does.
He's the best.
Yeah, yes. I just love the way the Bills are going, man. Love the way that team's going. It's going to be, what a weekend we have ahead of us with these great college basketball games starting tonight with the Badgers and the Spartans all the way through that Chiefs-Bills AFC heavyweight matchup. Winner is going to the Super Bowl. You heard it here, certainly not first, but I'll just add my voice to that chorus. A great sports weekend ahead of us, and we're happy that you could kick it off with us here on Best on the Board, because that's going to do it for this episode. For CJ, for Casey, I am MB Michael Beller. Have a great weekend. Good luck. Happy betting, and we'll talk to you soon. See you later.